welcome to another episode of Purlfect Pairings. My name is Gayanne, she, her.
And my name's Nicole, and my pronouns are she and her. And we'd just like to start today by recognising the traditional owners of the land on which we're filming, which is the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. And we wish to pay our respects to elders past and present. We also want to acknowledge the often fraught relationship between the Australian farming industry and Indigenous land rights, and recognise the incredible contribution of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people to the Australian fibre arts community over the millennia. So what are we talking about today?
Whips!
Yay!
Whip it good. You know I love a whip.
She loves a whip. I mean, the challenge with these whip episodes is, do we show all of your whips every episode, or do we just focus on the couple that you've touched recently?
I think the main things that I have going on in my life.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we might be here for several hours, realistically.
Yes. Shall we start with one of your whips?
We can. How about so this is my latest and greatest. Oh, you can kind of see it here in the corner. I didn't realize. That's all right. Here it is.
We ruined the surprise.
Spoiler. Where's the front side here? This is, would you hold the tail bit?
Certainly.
Ta-da! How beautiful is that? You can actually kind of quite see the texture. This is the Honey Moss Shawl by Andrea Mowry.
It's intensely textured. It's really, like it really feels like, I mean, I don't know what honeycomb feels like. I do know what honeycomb feels like. It really feels like a giant version of honeycomb.
I love it.
Immense killer bee version of honeycomb.
Oh, it's fabulous. You can actually sink your fingers into.
I feel like I would do that constantly while I was wearing it, and it would maybe look a bit weird. Or maybe not. Maybe.
So for my work, I will wear suits quite a bit, and the difficulty can be putting a jacket in the wintertime over your suit. That often feels very constricted. So I have been knitting these quite heavy shawls with the idea that I can wear them almost as a winter coat over my suits and not overheat and not feel like I'm stuffed like a sausage into my coat.
Good plan.
Yeah.
And so how far are you through this? Would you say 50% or
more than?
More than.
Well, there's two components to this. So there's the honeycomb kind of cable-y stitch part, and then on the end there's a bit of a lace section. So I am almost done with the honeycomb cable-y bits, and then I'll start the lace section maybe tomorrow. Maybe. We'll see how much time I get to knit. I am making this in Labella from Great Ocean Road. So this is what it's hanged up. It's their 10 ply in light gray.
It's beautiful. It's so soft.
It is a merino and alpaca blend, and they use superfine merino with a certain percentage of
is it
dark
superfine
alpaca.
merino?
Pretty sure.
I thought it was produced here.
No, superfine, not super wash.
Ah, super fine. Yes, super fine.
Yep.
I just said super.
Their wool is made now in Ballarat, and I can't remember what episode number it is. I'm sorry, but we have done.
We're going to link to it in our show notes.
We
will
will
go back and have a They're a gorgeous couple.
Chat with them.
Yeah, and they're really passionate about the work that they do, and really ethically and sustainably produce their yarn as well, which is fantastic.
Yep, love their yarn, and this is just knitting up so beautifully.
It is
really happy.
I have to admit, like based on a picture, this wouldn't have necessarily been my immediate go-to.
Yeah,
but now that I'm feeling it, I'm like, oh, maybe I need one of these.
It's so
squishy.
Yeah,
and the texture is phenomenal. Yeah.
And I love the I-cord as well. This I-cord
Yeah.
edge just gives it a really lovely finish. I haven't made any modifications to the pattern at all. I'm just loving it. And the other thing is it's a tutu cable for this pattern, and I'm doing it without a cable needle, which is
Terrifying.
I
But
think
not.
it's life-changing. And this yarn, I think because it's non-superwash, it doesn't slip, so the stitches don't slip. I can just kind of, zoop zoop
Zoop, zoop.
zoop zoop. That's what it's called when you cable without a cable needle.
Yeah,
That's exactly what it sounds
The
like.
technical
Zoop,
term.
zoop.
Yeah.
To switch the stitches, and it's just
Because we did talk about this earlier, this particular yarn, and how in a previous episode when you started something else with it and then decided it wasn't working for you.
That's right.
You were able to pull it apart and it like retained its
all the stitches.
Really
Was literally,
neatly.
I could just weave the needle back in. It was the yarn is an absolute dream to work with, and I think from a price point compared to a lot of hand-dyed yarns, it's actually quite reasonable. So I'd really highly recommend it. They make it in a 4 and 8 and it is 10 ply. So I would 100% use this yarn again.
It's lovely.
I can't wait
beautiful.
to get knitting on it.
All right. So I have a whip that is a lot more random than that. So one of our favourite podcasters, Amy Palco, teamed up with an incredible designer who I think is also from Scotland.
That's right. They're both in Edinburgh. Rebecca Clough.
So the Korea Beer. And they were working on the Lento sweater, which is a pattern that was published in Lena, and I have completely forgotten the name of the designer.
Her first name is Johanna.
And we're going to link to it in the show notes. It's a great sweater. So they were doing a cowl, and I just really wanted to participate in it. I was kind of in the mood for something, and it just looked like a fun sweater. And actually I was really drawn to it because it has a sort of a square shoulder construction. So I wanted to do it in some sort of different coloured yarn in order to really accentuate that design. And so this is my leftovers Lento. So you can see there that really fun square shape of the way. So it's not a square shoulder construction, but the way that the shoulders formed in the raglan style, it does give really crisp corners as to where the shoulder increases and decreases, and I don't know what you call that.
I think it gives it a really lovely angularity and it's almost an architectural. Yeah.
And so the original pattern uses there's lots of different yarns going on in here. So the original pattern uses, I think, a fingering weight with a lace weight mohair held together.
Okay.
To equivalent a DK. So I didn't have those things, and it was a random, I think, Sunday afternoon decision that I wanted to join along in the cowl. So I went through my stash and found some bits and pieces of old 8 ply, much of it from my crocheting days.
Okay.
And just kind of put together the colours that kind of worked, and this is what we've come up with. So
I think it's amazing.
I really, really like it. Really like it. And we're almost done. There's not that much to go.
So close.
Pretty close. So I can't even really tell you what all the yarn is.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, what is this green, soft and fluffy one? Do you know?
So what I can tell you is this pink thing at the top was a Bendigo Woolen Mills previous special edition yarn that I've completely forgotten the name of, but it is a bamboo wool blend. I think this next
really
greeny
small.
section was something from a more commercial yarn. The really soft dark green I think I went to Japan a few years ago and bought some really beautiful Japanese yarn to make a shawl and misjudged my quantities, and then just needed something that was going to not match the colour but go with. So I think this was purchased from a more commercial stall actually in Australia, but it's a very soft, and I don't even have tags for all of these things. And that's pretty much the way this goes. This blue we've seen before. This is Tanzanite from Bendigo Woolen Mills, and it's one of their, again, special edition yarns that doesn't exist anymore. But it's all kinds of things, leftovers, and it has been super fun to do, put together in terms of colours and yarn in no time at all. And pretty much what I have done as I got to the sleeves was weigh how much of some of the things that I don't have much left of, like the pink, weigh how much I have left and work out how long I can knit with them.
And I love how you used, that is so soft. So you put that in the important bits.
That's
right?
the other
around
thing.
the neck.
I have
I
have really deliberately put the next to skin yarn in places where you've got really sensitive skin. So this Bendigo Woolen Mills is quite comfortable if you were wearing a sleeveless or a short sleeve top around the underarm there. So that's why that's there. I'm less sensitive around the elbow, so this one's a little bit of a coarser type of yarn.
Yeah.
And then the softer stuff down near the wrist and sleeve. So there we go. Hopefully I'll have that finished off. I could knock that out quite quickly. It's a great project as well because you use for the rib you use a 4mm, but for the rest of it you use a 6mm. So it knits
would knit up so quickly.
Really quickly.
So we talked about Amy Palco. She made one. I think it was the third one that she made.
She made quite a few.
All of them beautiful. But the last one actually gave me pause for thought because she made it with a yarn that had a sparkle in it. And I've always kind of been reluctant about sparkle yarn.
I like to sparkle from the inside, not the outside.
Anyway, I saw her sweater with the sparkle and I thought, gosh, that's amazing. Like, it just really, it made it actually quite elegant, and it's a very simple raglan, but it turned it into like a dress piece.
Yeah.
Like something you could wear.
And that she was talking about wearing it to the theatre and that kind of thing. And it was a very subtle sparkle.
It was beautiful. I think it
was really beautiful. And it was like a midnight blue kind of, with a slightly goldy
rose gold kind of sparkle through it. It was gorgeous. La Droguerie, right, which is that Paris yarn shop. It was just it made me rethink the sparkle. So I say don't close your mind to certain things because I
know a lot of people do love a sparkle. So, I mean, this, we can vouch that this looks, have a look at Amy's page. There's a lovely midnight blue jumper with sparkle. That's one of her lentos. And
we'll link to it if
if you hashtag Let's Lento, it should show up as one of the more popular posts in that on Insta.
I'm going to try and look. I think we have a yarn show coming up in a few months. And I think Ixchel,
yes, is an Australian brand that does some really beautiful
yarns, and I think they do a bit of sparkle. So
they do, yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Well, are you out of whips?
I've got one more, but maybe we'll save that one for last.
Okay. All right. My next whip. So this is things that we've talked about before. So back in our episode where we went out to Fibre Naturally, which was the alpaca farm and woolen mill in Victoria, I talked about purchasing this beautiful brown natural coloured alpaca. This yarn came from the oldest alpaca at Fibre Naturally. Her name is Regan, and she's now 16, but this was from her 2013 vintage fleece.
Regan has, I think, children and grandchildren
She does
in
have
that flock.
She does have grandchildren in the flock. Yeah. River Song and another one. Anyway.
Go back and watch that episode because it was amazing. And Gail, I've probably said this 5 times as well. I'm so repetitive. Gail has an amazing passion for her animals and the yarn, and it really shows through in the products that she produces.
And so I think in that same episode, I also talked about my acquisition from my first wool swap. So wool swap was started by an Australian woman. I did one in sort of November, December last year, and was paired up with the beautiful Kerry in Canada, who sent me this gorgeous yarn from the Yarn Therapist, which is a colour, what do you call it? It's not a fade, it's a gradient, maybe. Anyway, Sorbecha is the colourway, and it's a fingering weight yarn that changes from pretty sort of watermelon pinks to blues to apricots to greens, and I have started making Andrea Mowry's Cinnabar Shawl. So here we go. Quite a bit of progress. I mean,
Lovely.
it's a very large piece, so there's a lot more to be done. But it is knitting up beyond my wildest dreams. I can't tell you how enjoyable it is to work with these two yarns because they are both so soft and beautiful. And you're working with a DK weight next to a fingering weight as well, so it sort of really emphasizes the texture. There's lots of fun stitches, half the row, or a little bit as you go on. You do more. Well, it obviously gets bigger, but a little bit more than half of the row is brioche, and then the other half is a nice relaxing garter, and it's an absolute joy. And Andrea Mowry is doing a cal at the moment, her March to May cal, so check out her Instagram for those details.
Can I ask you a question? Which
Yes.
side is the right side and which side is the wrong side?
The
Because
right-
it actually looks
It does look like you
reversible.
could reverse it, and so I guess if you wanted more dark, you could go that way, but technically the right side is the colourful
with the
side.
colour coming through.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And then obviously it's going to look different if you're, if it's stretched around, you're going to see the brown a bit more on the right side.
Yeah,
So.
depending on how you wear it. Gorgeous.
Such fun.
Any modifications to the pattern? Have you
Zero
changed anything?
modifications, no. I'm too scared to change anything when you're dealing with brioche.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, one modification, I lie. The edge is just, you knit to the edge. And so I have, when I'm knitting on the reverse side, I slip one stitch with yarn in front just to create a slightly neater edge.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Thank you.
So my next whip is a repeat whip. Back in episode 1, I think we spoke about some whips that we had in progress, and I was making this Maza, the half and half triangles wrap. It's a free pattern from Pearl Soho, which is a yarn producer in the United States. Now, I am probably, I don't know, what do you reckon, about two-thirds of the way with, I think we have to stand up. Here it is.
It's big.
It's huge, hey? It actually doesn't really fit in my project bag anymore.
It doubles as a blanket, I think.
I definitely think it will be like a
shawl
blanket because this is only half of it. But I love the color. So this color is Poppy. It's a Holst Super Soft.
And you're just using a single strand of it,
I
aren't you?
am.
I've seen some other people using 2 strands held together.
I think that would be beautiful, but I think it would also be even bigger.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm a fairly loose knitter, so it's
substantial. And so when you get to halfway, you get to change colour, right?
Yeah, I think it's meant to be a wrap and turn, but I've been doing German short rows.
Mm-hmm.
Because Amy Palco did German short rows on hers anyway. And I've also been...
She knows what she's doing.
She does. And I've been doing that slip stitch as well to create a bit of a neater edge rather than having the garter bumps on the edge. You just slip the last stitch with yarn in front before you turn it around. You resolve all of the short rows with the new color. It's a free pattern, so it's not giving away any secrets really. And I have Scots pine, so quite a vibrant, you might call it khaki green. It's a bit of a foresty
it's a browny,
green.
browny, greeny.
But I think it will be a beautiful contrast to this and give me a lot of options when I finally get there.
Have to knit the same volume on the other side.
That's right. So when did we start? This is episode 1.
You just started, hadn't you? There was
enough
to hold up at that stage.
Yeah, I had a bit. So that was December.
Early December.
Yeah, so it's been several months. I did put it down for a while, but I have been knitting this on the tram. And maybe I can get 4 rows or something done each way if I get a seat. So it's dependent on that as well.
So maybe by the end of the year we'll have something to show.
Possibly for our final.
Depends how many whips she starts in the meantime.
That's true. And I've just had so many. I've got another sweater that I want to start, so we'll talk about that in a minute.
All right.
I'm incorrigible. You said it before.
You are. She loves a whip. She likes to cast on just to treat herself after a tough day.
It is. It's so nice. Just the I don't know what it is. Like the ability to start something new, and the newness of it, the freshness of it, the potential. So we
acquisitions.
We had a lovely trip a couple of weeks ago now, I think, out to Mooralbark, which is east of where we live in Melbourne.
It was the Yarra Valley Wool and Craft Show.
And what a delight it was.
Also in Wurundjeri country.
That's right.
Yeah.
It would be. It's not the largest wool show available to us, but it had a beautiful selection of indie dyers and producers.
And some of our faves. And it was the first yarn show of the year too, after a little hiatus over Christmas. So off we went.
Kicked off the yarn show season beautifully.
So I'm going to start off showing my lovely, lovely fluff.
I don't even want to touch it because I'm just going to say again, I wish you could feel this.
It's a lace Suri silk, so 74% baby Suri Alpaca, 26% silk, and it's from Woolen Works. So Chloe is a seriously overachieving young person. It makes me sound 58. 92. Seriously overachieving young person. Chloe is an engineer who dies in her spare time.
I don't know when that would be.
Anyway, Chloe makes up some beautiful, vibrant, really fun colourways. So I've got her Fairy Bread in the Suri silk and her Rufous. I wonder who Rufous is. I wonder if it's like Rufous de Sol. Anyway, Rufous. And I don't know what I'm going to make with these, really. I just bought them, I bought 2 of each because they appealed to me, and I figured, lace weight Suri, you can hold it up with other things, and I'll find a project for it sometime in the future.
The colours are beautiful.
They are beautiful. But then we went to see our friend Danny at Half Baked Hand Dyed, and I got this really lovely sort of, I don't know, it's almost like a milk chocolatey brown
I have one of those actually.
colour. Do you?
I do, in my stash.
There you go. And I sort of thought it looked quite lovely, held strand to strand with the fairy bread. And I'm thinking of making a bis beret out of those two. So that's a future plan. I don't know when I'll get to it. I have a few whips going on at the moment, or a few queued projects in my Ravelry queue. But yes, again inspired by Amy Palco to make the bis beret. I think she used. I'm not sure if the pattern uses one strand of fingering, one strand of. Anyway, that's where I'm going with it at the moment.
That's beautiful. So, I love Danny.
I should just say that's called the Great Rupert colorway.
It's just a lovely variegated brown.
It really is. Yep.
I love Danny's yarn as well, and I have bought a sweater quantity of this color called Run Silent, Run Deep. It's coming out, I think, in the camera a bit darker than it actually is, but we'll put a photograph up of it. It's a beautiful dark blue, and I bought enough to make the Outlaw sweater by Libby Johnson. Truly Myrtle is the name under which she does her designing, and it is the most coziest looking kind of shrug open cardigan.
We talked about the Outlaw in our episode on designers, which I think is episode 9. Anyway, we'll link to it in the show notes. It's nice that we're getting up to a number of episodes where I can no longer go, oh yes, that was episode 3. There's enough episodes that we now just have to refer to them by name. Anyway, there's an episode on Australian designers, and we do talk about Libby Johnson in that one.
Yeah, I'm so keen to get started on this, but I also really want to finish my honey moss. Anyway, too many decisions. Yeah, just loving this. This colorway, I think it's going to be.
And the yarn that Danny uses, that half-baked hand-dyed, is really lovely and soft as well.
Yeah,
lovely to work with.
It's 100% superwash merino, so there's no nylon in it as well. It might stretch a little bit more, but I think that's okay because the yarn is a little bit thinner than I think what was used in the pattern. So between that, my loose knitting, a bit of drape, I reckon it will come out hopefully the right size. Okay, we know my challenge is
I think the pattern's quite flexible in terms of sizing as well, so I think it'll be alright.
Yeah, no, it's going to be absolutely gorgeous. Look.
Already squishing.
Yeah. Can't wait to wear that one.
All right. Shall we talk pairing?
Yeah, so cables without a cable needle. I think a little bit difficult to do. Well,
it's a non-alcoholic beverage. Totally could drink whatever you wanted while making the Lento. It's a nice easy knit.
Same with half and half.
Brioche in the Cinnabar Shawl by Andrea Mowry.
Dicey.
I have made a few mistakes and fixed them as I went along. No one will notice.
So we thought a tea to pair with this episode, and we'll talk about one of my favorite tea ranges, which is called Paca. And the one that we're having today is called Peace. And Peace is a blend of spearmint, ashwagandha, and hemp seed oil. Now, ashwagandha is, I think, translated literally from, this is going to test me, I think it's Hindi for horse root. But it's meant to be kind of anti-anxiety as a natural remedy, obviously.
How's that going for you?
Well, you know. Anyway, I'm drinking it.
We'll report back.
And I think it's got a lovely flavor
it's
to it.
really just balanced and fresh. It's got some spearmint.
Mm-hmm.
Hemp seed oil, I don't know. I use hemp seeds on my yogurt sometimes, and they have a nicely nutty, herbaceous character to them. So yes, I think I can see that in the tea.
Yeah, love paca.
It's a nice savoury tea.
It's available at, I think, many natural health food stores. You can get it at some of our bigger grocery stores. It's out of the UK. I've never tried to buy it outside of Australia, so I don't know about availability overseas, but they do have a website, so we'll link to that in the show notes.
Wow, I think that's it for us for today.
I think it is.
Look at us, just over 30 minutes on an episode.
Wow.
That's a real record for us.
I could talk more.
Oh, I know you could. As the editor, I think we should wrap it up there.
All right. Well, if you've enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up. And if you want to hear more about our knitting exploits, you can subscribe to our channel. And you could subscribe to the channel and receive notifications. So when we post, YouTube would send you some kind of either push notification or email, however you have your settings organized. We're also on Instagram at Purlfect Pairings.
We love comments, so please feel free to comment on this episode. We respond to everything. We love to hear from you, and we really appreciate your ongoing support. We are thoroughly enjoying this, and if you've got any ideas for more content or things that you'd like to hear about the Australian fibre industry, then please comment that as well.
Absolutely.
And we're always looking for inspiration.
Yes, and we love to learn and meet new people, new designers, new indie dyers that we might not know about.
All right, friends, have a wonderful afternoon. Happy knitting. It's afternoon here. Have a wonderful time of day wherever you are. Happy knitting, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.
Bye.